I find this kind of thing fascinating because it appears that it's a level of I'm not going to say that this is fraud in any way because it's not, but this is next level conflict of interest that Senator Emily Alvarado isn't even trying to hide. If what WeTheGoverned.com's Glen Morgan found out is accurate, he'll be on the show today at 5:30 to explain in greater detail. But he filed an ethics complaint against Alvarado for violating state laws as an employee of an organization lobbying on behalf of a bill that she is the prime sponsor of. So in other words, she is benefiting from a bill that she sponsored.
Is that bad?
That's generally frowned upon, except in Washington, I suppose. Engrossed House Bill 1217 would be steps 1, 2, and 3 of instituting a what does the left talk about when they do price controls around rent? What do they want to call it? What's their spin?
Well, then
it's not rent control, so they can't use that term. Have they come up with a new way to rent freedom or something? Freedom from landlords, from the baron robbers.
Robber barons.
Robber baron. Well, what if they're robbing baron? You don't know. But they're not going to call. They in this one they're calling, instead of just calling it rent control, they're saying this is just a rent cap. So in other words, they're controlling the rent that they can charge you. And it would be capped at 7% annually, 5% if we're talking about mobile homes. You can't have any increase within the first year. And this is the start to what ultimately is going to become rent control in Washington State. And so she pushes forward this particular piece of legislation. The problem, as Glen Morgan states, is that she's the VP of Pacific Northwest Market for Enterprise Community Partners, which oversees work in Washington and Oregon to create and preserve affordable homes and brings programmatic solutions to scale through policy advocacy. So they advocate on behalf of policy.
Some good consulting language there, by the way.
Yeah, no kidding. It's just, that's all it is. But they advocate, they lobby for policies that it just so happens their VP, who's also a state senator, pushed through as the prime sponsor. And if it passes, generally lobbyists make money off of policy that they're lobbying for. That's generally how it works. Did she not see the conflict, or did she simply not care? Not caring.
Probably didn't care.
It's probably the not care. This is not a secret what she does. Do you think her colleagues don't know? It's like that Emily. I never knew she worked for that lobbyist firm, that consulting firm on affordable housing. That's so unlike her to have a job.
Well, that's actually that's fair, actually.
She is a Democrat from Seattle. What do you want? No one stopped and said, hey, Emily, maybe don't be the prime sponsor on this. I know you're trying to impress your bosses at this firm, this consulting firm, but it's going to be a bad look and you're going to get hit with an ethics complaint. And if there's anyone who does his homework, because he's like the dweeb when it comes to this kind of stuff, and you want a dweeb on your side, you don't want a dweeb coming after you on this, it's Glen Morgan. Like, he knows his stuff. He does the research. He knows the state laws. He knows what the ethics rules say. And most importantly, he knows how to file an effective ethics complaint against any state representative or senator. And he has filed in this case. And again, if this is as cut and dry as he's saying, she's clearly guilty. And the problem, however, is that maybe you get hit with a fine of like $500 or $1,000, and something might suggest that her company, or the company she works for, Enterprise Community Partners, probably makes a little bit more than $1,000 off of the passage of this policy. that they stand to benefit more than $1,000 worth. So why even have the ethics rules? Seriously, why even have the ethics rules if you're not going to impose a punishment that serves as a disincentive for this kind of behavior? Part of me knows that nothing's going to change unless you do something big. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a fine, maybe a public shaming. Can we still throw like rotten tomatoes at law? We can't do that. Is that assault?
What's the thing where the leftists are they go, shame, shame?
We could have her walk through it. Well, if we do in a more appropriate G-rated version of that, because House of Dragons was a little, they forced her to do it nude, and I don't think we should do that. But I do like having her just walk through Olympia, just downtown Olympia. Just do a couple laps, and just everyone just line up and say, shame, shame, shame. That could work. Now, she did not respond to a request for comment from the Center Square, which was the first, media outlet that I saw cover this. Again, this is as straightforward as it comes, and she allegedly decided to do it. What does that say about her?
Brazen.
What does it say about the rules?
They don't mean anything.
What does it say about a media that might not cover this with the attention I think it deserves?
They don't hold our officials' feet to the fire.
Well, Democrats.
Well, yeah. But
when J.T. Wilcox was in office, I remember the left giving him a hard time anytime he did anything associated with farming, because he's Wilcox as in Wilcox Farms, the eggs. Why is it that he gets that kind of, and he went out of his way to not do anything in conflict? I imagine there are lots of conflicts out there, maybe not as direct as this. There's an easy way to deal with this. Just don't put your name on it. It's not like she couldn't still, as a lawmaker, lobby on behalf of the bill. She can still do that, but to sponsor it, to introduce it and defend it, like, that's just wrong. And that she had to, unless maybe she didn't realize where she worked. Is that possible?
Not likely.
She's like, well, let me make an argument for that. The consultant language in her job description is so confusing and vague.
Very frilly, yeah.
As to make it unclear what it is she does, really. You can argue.
Sounds good, though.
Yeah, it sounds great, but I don't know what it means. It sounds like I'm busy when I don't have anything on my calendar today, and I'm making a ton of money, and I sound important.
And I still don't know what synergy means.
I synergistically can't figure it out. I think I could argue on her. She should have me argue in front of the state legislative board on ethics.
Well, you did watch the practice. So.
All the good seasons, and Boston Legal for the first 2 seasons, like every David E. Kelly show. It's like, okay, it's the same character, and every piece of language is exactly written the same. It's just like, okay, we got it. And then you get some absurd over the top case, and you're like, okay, this jumped the shark. And then you watch the next episode, and you're like, how could it get more absurd than what we just saw? And then why is there a dancing baby meme in Ally McBeal? But they did cover this in one of the, I can't remember which episode, but it was covered on all 3 of those shows. So I know what it is I'm doing.